Jeev Jano, Jeev Jano, Gaura Chanda Mole. Anyone know it? Jeev Jano, Jeev Jano, Gaura Chanda Mole. Godanitra Yaumaya Pisachirikole. Nobody knows it. Oh, sorry. Godanitra Yaumaya Pisachirikole. Malajivo Valiaise Samsara Vitare. I'll just chant it. Madiva Maliaise Samsara Vitare. Muniara Vili to me Atvichara Pare. Tomare Vaite Ami Oinu Avachara Amina Manuhara Keya Chetomara Ele Cheyas Jodivaya Mashiparanaki Harinam Mahamantra Now to me Maki Wakati Vinodapra Charane Buddhiya Say Hari Nama Mantra Laila Magiya Jeev Jago Jeev Jago Gaura Chanda Mole Godanitra Yaumaya Visachirikole. Namago Krishna Pujaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Samediti Namane. You know that song. Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Samediti Namane. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharane Sesha Shunyavani Vatsachari Satarane. Namaste
Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirishesha Shunyavani Vatsachari Satarane.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Gauranga Vrinda. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Gauranga Vrinda. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Gauranga Vrinda. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama, Hare Rama, 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Paramahansa Paramacharya Tata Satashi Shimad, His Divine Grace Abhaya Chananana Bhaktivedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Gaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Paramahansa Shri Dvaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radhakrishna Gopinath Shyam Kunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavanam Ki Jai. Mathuraam Ki Jai. Jagannath Swami Ki Jai. Yamunamaya Ki Jai. Srimati Vilasa Devi Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Gaura Premananda Hari Hari Go. All glory is the assembled devotees. All glory is the assembled devotees. All glory is the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Pujale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Chana Nirvisheshe Shunyavadi Vaschati Okay, let's read some quotes. From His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Okay. The first quote refers to, don't do things out of guilt or fear, but voluntarily. It's a quote from Prabhupada. Wow. Regarding, this is a letter written to Hansaduta in 1971. Regarding your question about incense, Kurandar has informed me that our spiritual sky business is making now $1 million a year to spend for Krishna. How can that be Maya? My Guru Maharaj used to say, anything material that is used for the service of Krishna, it is a mistake to give it up. Because I've understood this principle, he used to appreciate me in front of my god brothers. I have given this idea all along. Why you big leaders do not understand it. You should take it to heart as a guiding principle that somehow or other we always please Krishna by doing something what is practical and necessary according to time and place. Not that we should be whimsical. But one test is, here's the key sentence, that all the devotees should be satisfied. They have given up their lives to Krishna, so we should see that they are always happy. Their service is voluntary. It is not that we can force anyone to do anything. If we do, they will go away, and that is a great loss. Everyone must be encouraged to do what he likes to do for Krishna. So I like to race cars, so I want to do it for Krishna. So if someone likes to do business for Krishna, let them make $1 million for Krishna. Very nice. Another letter is, our service, this is very short, quote from the letter. Our service for Krishna is voluntary and can never be forced. That's a letter to Vamanadeva on 1971 also. Here's another letter. It is not a mechanical process. If we force in such a way, they will come out like this. No, we are persons and Krishna is a person. And our relationship with Krishna, he leaves open as a voluntary agreement always. And that voluntary attitude, yes, Krishna, I shall gladly cooperate, whatever you say. That ready willingness to obey is only possible if there is love. Forcing will not make me agree. But if there is love, oh, I shall gladly do it. That is bhakti, that is Krishna consciousness. That's a letter to Rupa Vilas in 1972. Here's another quote from Prabhupada in a conversation. So automatic cooperation is bhakti and forced cooperation is karma. That is, it looks like the same thing. Karmis and bhaktis are working just like we are working in the same way. Karmi is typing, bhakti is typing, it looks the same. But karmi is typing using force, under force. His master has ordered you work it, otherwise you won't get salary. And the bhakta is typing for pleasing Krishna and for glorifying Krishna. So the typing looks the same, but the bhakta's typing and the karma's typing is different. Let's see, I got all these quotes here. There's an interesting quote of Prabhupada expressing gratitude that I have here. I wanted to read for today. Maybe it's in the gratitude chapter. But I know I have it here somewhere. Okay. Let's just look in this chapter. Alright. Because today we mainly want to talk about expressing gratitude. If you are all willing. Sure, I have this quote from Prabhupada here. Oh yeah, here it is. Okay, let me explain what gratitude is. Attitude of gratitude. Gratitude and appreciation. We have a need for appreciation. And appreciation is different than praise. So let me explain the difference. Praise is a diagnosis, basically. Adi Purusha, you are so nice.
Oh, thank you.
You are so good. Every time I tell you to do something, you immediately do it within 5 seconds or less. Listen to what I'm doing. Yeah, my observation is not an observation. I'm diagnosing him as a good person. You're a good person. And so basically that's like I do with my dog. Good boy. Good boy. Or you do with your child. Good boy, you finished everything on your plate. Such a nice boy. So, in many cases that's can be considered to be manipulative. And it's basically a diagnosis. So, but we have a need for something more. And it doesn't really touch you. After a while, you feel like you're being played like a violin.
Yeah.
If someone does that to you. You're so intelligent. You're... Anyway. But, so real appreciation means, and what encourages us, is when someone tells us what we did, what we said, etc., how they felt about it. The same process, remember? Observations. What did you say? You were rascal, you said. I felt unhappy because my false ego was being destroyed. And I'm appreciative because in this way, I can meet my need for humility. Is humility a need? That's good. Humility is a need, okay. So you all must be humble. I want you to concentrate on the word humility right now and just be humble. Can you be humble by thinking about humility?
Kind of get into yourself, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, real humility, as we mentioned before, means to think of yourself less instead of thinking less of yourself.
Yeah.
And actually, if you really want to cultivate humility, it's in relationship to Krishna, the devotees. Like when I see or think of Prabhupada, I just think, no comparison there. So to me, that's humility. So anyway, so it means basically to follow the same process, not ritualistically, that we outlined before, which is observations, feelings, needs, and expression of appreciation. I'll give you an example, and then I'll give Prabhupada. Actually, I should give Prabhupada's example here. That's more potent. In the end of this chapter, actually, let me read a few of my notes here so you understand. Yeah, exactly what I said. Compliments and praise are still judgments. I said that. You did a good job. You were a very kind person. It was nice of you. You were nice. And research shows it's completely ineffective as far as long-term motivating behavior. temporarily, manipulative, the person catches on to it, and then after, it's like there's so many manipulative techniques they use in the business field. One is like the 1-minute manager type of technique. That's a very interesting technique. I tried it for a while, it didn't work. Which is, you sandwich praising with correction. It's wow, great job. But you're completely inept. But I like the way you dress. Anyway, I'm just being facetious. But the person feels, after you see it coming, like to the 10th time, and unfortunately some ISKCON courses teach you this. They teach a lot of things like ritualistic, like that. I did one course in ISKCON course in count. I'm not trying to say all ISKCON courses are off the wall, but I took one course in counseling, in empathy. This is before I came to empathic communication. And they said, if you really want to be empathic, and we spent like a half hour how to sit. You ever have these courses? Yeah. You sit forward looking at the person. I'm just exaggerating. I'm sure you've had courses like that too. Don't lean back, don't push your arms, don't do this, don't do that. So, empathy is not like that. Empathy is being a connection. And when you're in a connection, you can sit like this. It doesn't matter. I don't worry about how I sit. I can sit like this. You can. It doesn't matter. You could sit leaning forward like they teach you. Like I'll do that first. Say something to feel your mind.
It's a bit hard to do it when you're like that.
But let's say like this. Okay, tell me what's the issue,
I've never seen a sannyasi so casual before.
You've seen me casual before.
Yeah, that's true.
But isn't it, you feel more relaxed, we're having a discussion or something?
I guess because I know you, it's a little bit weird because
It's weird? Anyway, so the point is connection. Someone has to be interested in your feelings and needs, and then there's connection, and the bodily posture is not that important. I mean, obviously, you want to go like that, because then that sends a real closed offness like that. It's interesting. Body language is really important. So I was studying about lecturing and things like that. They said when you're talking and you have your hands like this, it goes to the emotions of the person. Wow, pretty interesting, isn't it? And your hands are like this is like truthfulness, like in your stomach. Yeah, I took a course in body language. I'm not always empathic. Sometimes I'm manipulative. So, and then if you're giving a lecture and your hands are like this, nobody's going to believe you. And if you're like going around uneasily, so if you really want to be truthful, it's like this. People will believe you. You could say any damn thing. Just think, I'm saying one thing right now, yeah, you could say any damn thing. Yeah, he's right. And then when you put hands like this, then it's like, it's really emotional, Yeah, because in the heart is the seat of emotions. Isn't it more emotional when I put my hands, and also my talk ability when I put my hands like that. And when I put them like that, it's it's ecstatic. So, I don't like those things. My opinion is it's a state of consciousness in the hands, and everything will go to wherever they're supposed to go to. I don't worry about it anymore. I used to worry, giving a lecture, where are my hands? I used to be really vain. Where are my hands? Where's my makeup? All that other stuff. Preparing a half hour before a lecture. And anyway, so getting back to, all right, so the notes here, okay, sorry about that one. So research shows that compliments are actually, as rewards, are ineffective, short-term gain, and what we're talking about is when we appreciate someone, it's like celebration. That reminds me of another joke. I don't know if I should tell this joke. Yeah, there was a priest one time, I'll tell it, and I'll get in trouble for it. There was a priest one time, he was crying, and he goes to another priest, and he says, "What are you crying?" He said, sorry about this joke, it has nothing to do with empathic communication, it just comes to my mind. So, he said, "I was reading the Bible and I realized there was a mistake in the spelling there. It says celebrate, not celibate." Has nothing to do with empathic communication. Don't worry. So religion is joyfully performed. I mean, Krishna conscious joy should be joyfully performed. It's celebration, and appreciating someone is celebration. I'm sorry, you did something. It made life more wonderful for me. That's celebration, isn't it? Wow. And here you're going to hear how Prabhupada did that. Hold on a second. There's several quotes where Prabhupada actually utilized empathic communication. That is so interesting. This is a letter. "I heard from him the details of your processions, Rath Yatra, and so it is much gladdening to my heart." You know, here's the observation. I heard the details of the procession. And how's Prabhupada feeling? Using language, good language. Gladdening to my heart. Wow, what an emotional expression, isn't it? Instead of like, I became happy. Prabhupada is actually learning, Prabhupada knows more words, emotional words or feeling words than all of us know. Gladdening to my heart. That's really great, isn't it? Do you ever say that to anyone?
No, I don't really have a reason to.
It is gladdening to my heart. I mean, you just picture that. It's a visual word, too. For me, it's a visual. You find like, wow, Prabhupada's ecstatic. It's like saying I'm ecstatic, which the devotees use all the time. It doesn't mean anything. How was that kirtan? Ecstatic. How was the prasadam? Ecstatic. How was the class? Ecstatic. I slept through it. Anyway.
Just one emotion.
Yeah, there's one emotion. The word, when you use a word over and over again, it loses its meaning. No longer means anything to anybody. That was ecstatic, Prabhu. The Prabhupada is using new words that none of us use. I thank you all very much for making the Rath Yatra festival so successful. You know, here's Prabhupada expressing gratitude. Please convey my gratitude, he's even using gratitude, to all the boys and girls who participated in this great transcendental service. This is the second year, and here's a request. And you have made a great stride from the first year, and in the third year I hope it will be still more successful. But it's a request, not a demand. The Prabhupada does this quite a bit. So Prabhupada was practicing empathic communication before I was born. Oh, this isn't before I was born. I was part of the movement at that time. So here's another one. I am so glad to hear that you are released now. He was in prison. Many devotees had to go to prison when they first joined the movement for a variety of reasons. One is that they were avoiding the draft, the military draft. Another one was that they had been caught with some herbal remedies. Natural. I guess I'm so glad to hear that you're released now. This I expected when you came to see me. I entrusted the matter to Krishna to give you release. Anyway, Krishna has been so much merciful upon you that he has taken you out of the state laws. And here's some preaching. So in every kind of miseries, we have to depend on Krishna. We should not be too much disturbed when such miseries come upon us. You have shown a very great example by sticking yourself to chanting Hare Krishna while you were in tribulation. Follow this practice all along in your life, and Krishna will accept you in the kingdom of God back to Godhead. So Prabhupada is appreciating that while he was in prison, that he continued chanting, following the four regular principles, and actually practically fasted the whole time. So Prabhupada was very much appreciative. Here's a story about me. Not in here. It's not in my book. But one time I was put in prison. Not for herbal remedies. Because I was doing Sankirtan and I got arrested for trespassing, distributing Prabhupada's books. And they took away my neck beads, my beads, my glasses. All they gave me was a tin cup. You've heard this story before. And what I did is they put me in this jail cell with bed bugs in the bed. So I couldn't lay on the bed. So I took the tin cup, started chanting Hare Krishna at the top of my lungs, and started hitting the bars with it. And about a half hour later, they kicked me out of prison. I was causing a disturbance. So you should taking shelter of Krishna's names helps in all circumstances. So here's there's so many letters of appreciation from Prabhupada. Your strong desire to serve me is very beautiful. Your serving me means serving Krishna. I am also your servant, so I cannot accept your service from you or from any of my disciples. I accept service from my disciples on behalf of Krishna. Here's another one. Appreciation to Jayananda. This is an appreciation after Jayananda left the planet. This is a letter to Jayananda after he... So this is how important appreciation is, that it really opens your heart up, even if the person doesn't hear the appreciation. So this is a letter to Jayananda, posthumous, which means after Jayananda left the planet. I am feeling very intensely your separation. In 1967, you joined me in San Francisco. You were driving my car. So here's the observation. And chanting Hare Krishna. You were the first man to give me some contribution, $5,000 for printing my Bhagavad Gita. After that, you have rendered very favorable service to Krishna in different ways. I so hope that at the time of death you were remembering Krishna, and as such you have been promoted to the eternal association of Krishna. If not, if you had any tinge of material desire, you have gone to the celestial kingdom to live with the demigods for many thousands of years and enjoy the most opulent life in material existence. From there you can promote yourself to the spiritual world. But even if one fails to promote himself to the spiritual world, at that time he comes down again on the surface of this globe and takes birth in a big family like a yogis or a brahmanas or an aristocratic family, where there is again chance of reviving Krishna consciousness. But as you were hearing Krishna Kirtan, I'm sure that you were directly promoted to Krishna Loka. Janma karma chame devam devam yogi tatvataha jatva deham punajanma naitimam iti sojana. Krishna has done a great favor to you, not to continue your diseased body, and has given you a suitable place for your service. Thank you very much. Pretty powerful letter from Prabhupada of appreciation. Here's more. There's actually so many of which Prabhupada is being empathic. I'll read a few more. But I am another letter, 1969. I'm very much happy if your nice spiritual sentiments in London. There may be a temple or not, does not matter. You're doing very nicely, more than having a temple. If Krishna gives us a better temple, that's all right. Otherwise, your engagement in Kirtan is very nice. So continue this program in cooperation with your other God brothers and sisters, and Krishna will make you very happy. You six together are doing so nicely that I'm very much proud of you. This is a letter to the devotees in London, actually, to Yamuna. Be blessed by Lord Chaitanya and go on like this. So Prabhupada is appreciating the spiritual mood, spiritual sentiments, very much happy, there's the emotion there, and then celebrating it, and then making a request. continue your cooperation, go on like this, and then finally be blessed by Lord Chaitanya. Here's another one. Thank you very much for installing Radha Giridhari. From my childhood, I was very much fond of Radha Krishna, and now my good disciples are helping me to open so many Radha Krishna temples all over the world. It gives me so much pleasure. There's the feeling right there. Now introduce Rath Yatra. There's the request. Immediately afterwards. Prabhupada really, he practiced. I mean, not that he practiced, he was expert, but he showed us by example how to practice empathic communication. That was my childhood activity. I want to see my disciples all over the world introduce 2 items, opening Radha Krishna temples and Rath Yatra festivals. Do this under the protection of Guru Gauranga. Please do everything cooperative, for you will be happy, your countrymen will be happy, and all living entities will be happy. Very potent. Phew. Here's another one. I have studied your activities while in Honolulu, and it gives me great pleasure to find out such devotee qualified as you are in our society. I wish you will execute your responsibilities in the future in the matter of our society's multi-activities. This is a letter to a very interesting personality, Tatituriya, who wasn't actually a devotee. She may believe she was the, in the family member, she may believe her name was Teshi Toyota. And she was the inheritor of the Toyota fortune. And she lured one of the devotees. Anyway, but Prabhupada was still very compassionate towards her. Eventually she did something so crazy she offered egg rolls to the deities, but that's another subject. But Prabhupada was very compassionate. Here's the final one. I have studied your statements in the papers, and you have repeated my ideas, and at the same time sounded like a politician. There's the devotee who's preaching. His name is Amarendra. Amarendra is a lawyer right now. Very nice. He's my old friend. I used to live with him, actually. We had a group of old friends, and he was one of my old friends. So Prabhupada is encouraging him in preaching Krishna consciousness from the political platform. Sounded like a politician. That's praising. And this, I mean, it's appreciation. And this combination is very effective. You are certainly the right man for this preaching work. They have taken you as a serious candidate, and according to your statement, you feel that you may even win. So I'm very much encouraged, there's his feeling, by this political field in America. The people there are very intelligent, and they take your statements seriously. I do not need to tell you to push on with this work in serious concentration, because I see you are already very determined. So Prabhupada is actually telling him to continue without telling him. He's saying, I do not need to tell you to push on with this work. In other words, that's what I want. And so, because you're already very determined. So anyway, so this is appreciation. So I would like to get some examples from all of you. Actually, first I should maybe do a little appreciation right now. Not for all of you, because I got nothing to appreciate about all of you. But, but like Prabhupada. So here, Prabhupada, of course, is not physically present anymore. So let's say it has to be done from the heart. It's not just like an act. So Srila Prabhupada, is he there? There, still there? Yeah. So let me go and see him. Of course, I can see him without getting deep notice. But it's really important. So Srila Prabhupada, I want to thank you very much. You've given me the holy name in 1968 or 69. I heard you first on the radio, and it planted the Bhakti Lata Beej in my heart. So there's the observation that Prabhupada did. And I am feeling overwhelmed with gratitude and happy because you've given me a meaning in my life, a purpose for living, whereas before I was just very discouraged. I had no purpose in life. Basically, I was just in a holding pattern, driving a taxi. And now you've given this to me, so thank you very much for doing this, and I will go on serving you eternally. And I'm eternally indebted to you. Thank you, Prabhupada. So there's an example.
No request? No request
Of myself.
to Prabhupada?
Not necessarily. Not that I have to make a request. Prabhupada, I feel Prabhupada's given me everything, so I'm not going to ask him. I don't really ask Prabhupada for anything. It's not my mood.
Engage you more in, to engage you more
But
in
you
his
can't.
service.
I feel he's already given me that. If he engages me anymore, if he did. I mean, it has to come from the heart. I can't just come up with a request. At this particular time, it's appreciation, and it's a request to myself, basically, to always be engaged in, that I'm always going to engage in your service eternally, life after life. So, it's not that you have to follow some ritualistic pattern when you're doing these things. You say, where's the request? Where's this? Where's this? Where's that? It has to come from the heart. It has to come from the connection that you have. So, all right, gang.
Gurudev, are there essentials you have to have the feeling,
Have to?
or the observation, or are there essentials to it? It's just
Well, you don't have to state it, but you have to remember it.
okay.
You don't have to, but it's something that someone did. It makes it very specific, and it's encouraging. Like if someone says to me, when you told me I was not my body, I got angry. When you told me I was not my body, I had that realization that actually it's true. For the first time in 30 years after joining the Krishna conscious movement, your words went to my heart. And I actually realized that I was an eternal servant of Krishna. Thank you very much. And so there's no request there. There's no request, but it's an appreciation. And okay, let's go over the second part of the appreciation. I'm going to first show you what not to do. Not an appreciation, but how to respond to an appreciation. So someone should, anyway, do some artificial appreciation of me, so I have to show, just do play acting. Come on, let's appreciate it. No one loves me. So, Adi Purusha, you're very emotional, so you can do it.
I appreciate that you're doing these empathic communication seminars for us, because it helps us feel more connected to our emotions and needs, and lets us be.
What have I done specifically to me?
You've given us practical advice on how to apply empathic communication.
I want to hear specifically something I've done.
I guess.
You took the trouble to come all the way here to
Yeah.
Slovenia.
With a 40-hour flight, and then
And you,
you get here, you're sort of ready to go from the get-go. You don't
yeah.
take a break.
And so how do you feel about it?
I feel grateful.
Grateful. Emotions? More emotions?
I guess happy, I guess.
Ecstatic. It touches my heart.
Yeah, that's good.
If I ever wanted to do comedy, he'd be my straight man. You know what a straight man is in a comedy team? I would hire him, because he's really good at that. Or I'd put him on my lap and he'd be my, like the little doll.
Ventriloquist.
So, all right, so he appreciated me, appreciated something I did specifically, and then okay, I'm going to respond in a certain way. It was nothing. I do it all the time. Yeah, it's just part of my life. It's my duty. How do you feel?
Not so good.
Not so good.
Kind of like Ash.
And then, but, so, to appreciate the appreciation means not to think that, oh, it's all false ego. Oh, it's nothing. You know, we as devotees are very conscious about praise. Because what the statement is what? He who praises me is my enemy. And it is dangerous. You know, general praise is extremely dangerous for one's spiritual life. Because one tends to believe it after a while. That's why Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur lists the byproducts of bhakti as one of the causes of anarthas. Especially when you get more and more position, I'm not saying advanced, then people start praising you. And I mentioned this many times before in my seminars that like every year I get a book of praise. People write, you are wonderful, you got lotus feet, you're whatever, you're like the cat's meow or the dog's bark. You know, so after a while you start to believe it. You never heard of fake news before?
Yeah, I may have heard of that.
Yeah, because the more you say something, I mean, whether it's true or false, the more people believe it. Especially slogans. You know, slogans, like our ex-president of the United States used to have a lot of ones. So anyway, so you get this book full of praise and everything like that, and not all of them are appreciation. I mean, most of them are not, strictly speaking, appreciation. And then you start to believe it after a while, and then you believe that you're a pure devotee. You're a pure devotee. And if I tell you you're a pure devotee enough times, you believe it, even though you're full of anarthas. So that's the problem with praise. It's actually detrimental. And what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu states that in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, he who praises me is my enemy, he who chastises me is my friend. So, but appreciation is not praise. It actually gives you energy.
Is this actual a verse from Chaitanya Charitamrita?
Yeah, it's actually in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. There's a quote. There's actually a quote that's given in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. But he who appreciates me is different than he who praises me. Like if you praise me, all right, so praise me right now. Just general praise, you know, you're wonderful, you're fantastic.
You have lotus feet. Your feet are like lotuses. You deliver the most fallen. You deliver the most fallen.
Oh my god.
It's true. I mean, what does it do? It doesn't encourage me to be Krishna conscious. It goes right to my ego. But when you say you did this and I contributed to a specific need you had, and you felt a certain, you know, whatever bliss or anything like that, then it actually encourages me to go on serving Krishna. You know, someone says, that was a great seminar on empathic communication, you know, so what? But if someone says, you know, when you said this, it helped me understand what needs or feelings were and encouraged me in Christian consciousness, then it really... So anyway, so let's say you just appreciated me. So if it was actually appreciation, I would respond with, thank you very much. That really encourages me. I would celebrate it. Mm-hmm. Wow. And inside I think, I want to do more and more and more seminars.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
So appreciation is a very important part of encouraging people in devotional service. It's interesting. Actually, maybe we should deal with how to deal with criticism before we get on to more appreciation. I was thinking I left that important part of the whole seminar. Because, appreciation is very easy to understand. You feel good, you reciprocate with the other person. Thank you, you met my need for encouragement, like that. But what do you do if someone says, you're an idiot? How would you respond?
I don't know.
Let's take someone more emotional. There's a picture. Anyone emotional? Oh, you're emotional. How would you respond if I were to say, not me, forget it. Right now I'm not your guru, so I'm rejecting him. So, let's just take, or I'm the authority. That's a big word. You're really an idiot and non-cooperative.
You may be right. Thank you very much for saying this.
Yuck. Okay, so I'm going to give you, usually I do this as a 4-chair exercise, which is really interesting. So there's actually 4 ways to respond to that. And I'll try to do all 4 at different times. So who wants to criticize me? Any volunteers? No, this is a problem. Should I criticize myself? No, I gotta have someone else criticize me.
Can I?
Yeah.
Okay. Maharaj, I'm really disappointed that you didn't go for Padayatra last day to Krishna.
That's not criticism. I didn't go. I have a good excuse.
Should be
You're
more
disappointed?
general.
That's your problem. Now, how would I respond to that? Or that's a completely different subject matter. I would say, I hear you have a need for devotees being encouraged by my presence. And, it's very important that I act, and I understand it's very important that I encourage the devotees. And I appreciate that. So, I've addressed your need. But that's a completely different subject matter.
But do you give explanations? Why did you, in this case,
An excuse? In certain circumstances. Yeah, but usually I don't get into excuses because it really doesn't go very well. Because you always have excuses for doing any damn thing. I would rather just appreciate that, and I'll try my best next time. I could go to an excuse. I was tired, just had a whole day of seminars. You gotta have some mercy on me. I'm an old man, 72 years old. Don't push me, boy. Don't push me, boy. I get into that, but I really would just rather emphasize with, and they just, I think that's the important thing, because that's what you're saying. You need the devotee, you have a need for the devotees to feel encouraged, and I really appreciate that. I may say that I'm sorry I didn't go, and I really appreciate that. Because that's what you're communicating. You're communicating that, are you interested? Do you also have a need? Or you understand my need? So that's how I deal with that. Okay. Can someone call me some names? Anybody who's not a
Oh my god.
Kavi Karnapur, you can do this.
I'm thinking about it.
All right, let me give you some names. Okay. You're useless. You're hopeless. Can you?
Should they be?
You have to do it.
Or,
What? You have to be real.
This is difficult.
All right. How are we going to do this?
I Once I was in your years ago when you first came to Slovenia.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah,
I was freezing to
I don't know
death.
exact occasion, but once I went to see you, to talk to you,
Yeah.
to darshan to you, and I didn't feel any empathy from you. But this is not the name.
No, that's all right. I mean, that was before I started chanting seriously. All right.
So I could say a name that you are careless. This is
Yeah, I want you to get something really heavy.
more offending.
Yeah, commit a good offense. Just say you're stupid, you're hopeless. Okay. Say it. That's the problem with you.
Arrogant.
All right, arrogant. That's good.
Arrogant, yes.
Okay. So there's 4 ways of dealing. I'm gonna start. See, I'm shifting my seat already. So the first way is you're just a puffed up new devotee who has no consciousness of Krishna, and you don't know what you're saying. You're offending a great devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that's attacking. I would attack you in response. I'm not being serious. Don't worry. So say the same thing again. Here's the second way of dealing with it.
You're so arrogant.
Our second way is, the first way is I blame you. Second way is, he's right. I'm so depressed. I am arrogant, useless, hopeless. I should just go back to my mommy. At least she loved me. That's the second way. Okay. Should do it again. So do it again.
You are bloody arrogant.
Bloody arrogant. Are you British? So it's hard when people aren't serious about criticizing me, but at this point I do some self-empathy. He said, I'm bloody arrogant. I have a need for communicating Krishna consciousness, a need for humility, a need to serve Prabhupada, and I get in touch with my needs. And, it doesn't bother me so much anymore. I'm in touch with my own needs. So, here's the fourth one. Do it again.
Who do you think you are? You're so arrogant.
You're getting better. So arrogant. So the fourth one, I have to switch back to number 3 again. I have to do some self-empathy. He said you were so arrogant. I have a need for appreciation, a need for contributing to Krishna consciousness. And I settle down my own needs and in touch with my own needs. And then I try to get in touch with his feelings and needs. He's angry. He has a need for understanding. And then I may say something, can we talk some more? Or I may just show it in body language. Would you be willing to talk to me? And so, in other words, any sort of blame or criticism, there's at least 4 different ways of dealing with it. But to be empathic with someone else, it's required that you deal with your own feelings and needs first. Because if I wasn't dealing with my own feelings and needs, then I couldn't be empathic with you. I would just be in pain from what you just said. Does that make sense? Okay. that's a little deviation from what we were doing. So we talked about appreciation and how to deal with appreciation. Does anyone want to do a little role play with someone else? I'm not going to call on you. Any volunteers? The,
Here we have one.
okay, who do you want to appreciate?
Susan?
Yeah. So look at him and
I really appreciate that you came along to help to cut the vegetables and wash.
Zelo ocenim, da si prišel in si pomagal rezati zelenjavo.
That occasion you helped me, but everyone was, everything was completely faster than usual, so we can attend this ceremony.
and how do you feel about it? No, Danilo.
Yeah, like grateful that you have so many.
You're grateful. What is the feeling from your heart? To try to come up with some other. I feel really happy and satisfied.
Grateful. Yeah, I also feel like a little bit more relaxed.
Yeah,
That,
things are taken care of.
yeah,
And what is your need?
my need is that
Would you say loving cooperation?
yes,
So why don't you say that to him?
I'm really thankful and happy that you help me and that we also can, in the meanwhile, also bond with each other while doing the service. So we're working.
Hey, all right, and how do you feel about that?
I'm happy because you're happy.
Wow, that's very good. I'm happy because you're happy. That's real connection there. Okay, who else would like to appreciate someone else? Then we'll go on to more difficult exercise. Anybody want to volunteer? Should I just start picking people? Yes.
I would like to appreciate Somya Rupa.
Oh, okay. Some group could you can look at her. Yeah, let's see.
I would really like to thank you. I appreciate it very much because you said some very deep things which happened in your life, and I thought how many things one has to go through in life and still have so much trust and love for Krishna.
How do you feel, Sonia? I mean, how do you respond?
I'm confused because
That's all right.
actually I'm very thankful that she took the time that we to listen, and it was kind of connecting, right?
That's very good. So you see, many of these emotions were expressed with body language instead of the words. That's very good. Well, very good. I appreciate it. Anyway,
You taught us.
very nice. How do you both feel now that you connected like that? If you had to pick a word or something.
I feel very, very happy that I met someone like her. And I thought, wow, Krishna consciousness is a place where we can meet such a beautiful and nice devotees.
Wow. Somya Rupa, how do you feel?
I'm very grateful that I have friends who listen and who have time and not just run away. I have to do this, I have to do that. It's very inspiring and it is also healing. It's very healing actually. and there's some pain and something. It's so healing to hear somebody cares for you, someone gives you love, and one can exchange love. It's actually very important. Huh? I don't know, maybe.
Oh, this is great. And there's a real connection. I mean, phew. I'm learning something.
Can I just say something? Which
Yeah.
Why? I don't know why it happened, but she knows my husband from 30 years ago, and always, and immediately when I saw you, I thought, oh, something is, something is there,
Yes.
She liked him very much, and because she liked him, I had this feeling, wow, she appreciated him so much.
It's very nice. Very, very nice. Wow. You see how powerful it is? The appreciation, and they just made each other's day there. Or week, or something like that. Or year, or life.
The devotees here are very nice.
Yeah, they're very wonderful devotees here. I'm so happy you came, Goswami. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for allowing me to come.
I wish Nandini had come too. Nandini. Really miss her. You can tell her I said that. Okay, so just one more and then we'll do a more difficult one. So, anyone else? Any two people want to do something? No, everyone's shy.
I can appreciate somebody.
Okay.
I appreciate. I have to move back. Body language. Yasha. We from like the first day I felt very connected to you, and things keep happening where we it seems like Krishna is bringing us together, and you've been so. Because of you opening up so easily and saying how you appreciate me from the beginning, I felt able to do so with you. And so I don't know, I feel very inspired by you and your life, and I feel very excited for connecting with you and more in our lives.
Very nice. And how do you feel about that?
I'm very grateful to meet her. She's a big inspire of mine, so big inspiration. So I have no words.
That's good. I miss body language and tears. It's very nice. Okay. Now, if everyone's willing, we'll do a more. I wouldn't say more difficult exercise, but an exercise that may take a little more concentration. Who would like to appreciate someone who passed away? Is no longer on the planet. Yeah.
Yeah, just like normally, just like.
Like just like, I mean, obviously you're not looking at them or anything like that, but how you feel, what they did for you, specifically.
Do I tell about whom I talk?
You don't necessarily. You can.
Okay.
That's up to you.
Okay. So I would like to appreciate a devotee friend. I've heard a lot about. I mean, it's Induleka. I've heard a lot about her since I joined, and I first met her in person 2 years after that. And then I understood everything what devotees were saying about her, because she, when the first time when we met, so that day when we first time met, she would stop and talk and inquire about who I am, and share some connect what I was saying to her practice, the practice of Krishna consciousness, in a very positive and inspiring way. So I felt very happy and light and inspired.
Very nice. Very nice. And she passed away, or? Anybody else like to do that exercise? Of course, I did it with Prabhupada in the beginning. No? What? Okay.
I would like to appreciate the Krishna Goswami. I met him on the Hungarian farm. And from the first moment I felt some connection, heart connection to him. And although we didn't have any contact physically, I really felt that he loves me, that he cares about me. And it was really something very, very special. And when I went to India, it was 2012, I had his mercy, really, big mercy, to be able to be there in his rooms these 9 days when he arranged these bhajans, evening bhajans, and it was so wonderful, and I really always felt his presence and his care, and it was really something very special. And
What would you like to say to him right now?
I'm very grateful to meet him. I'm very grateful that he gave me so much love. And that I feel his presence. And I take his shelter when sometimes, not often. But I feel this connection even after he passed away.
Very nice.
And I'm really very, very thankful.
Very nice. Very nice. Yeah, it's important to express appreciation for people who are not in our physical presence too. Because this appreciation and the receiving of appreciation actually gives us a lot of energy. And, what's that?
Also shelter.
Shelter, energy, security, yeah. It's very, very important. One thing I've seen, it's almost mystical, that when two people are still on the planet and you appreciate them and they're not in your physical presence, you don't send them any text messages, they actually receive it. I mean, it's something really mystical that I've seen in a number of cases. That you look at someone's picture or you think of someone and you think of how much you really love them and appreciate them and what they did for you and how you feel about it, and somehow or other the person gets the message. It's pretty amazing. Because in one sense we're connected in a real way through Krishna. Okay.
How do you know that the person gets the message?
Because they call you up. I'll give you one instance. Okay, this is just private, not mentioning names or anything. There was the couple that was having trouble, you know, man and woman having trouble, and the man was in, or no, the woman was in Europe and the man was in America. And so we did a role play. And, you know, worked out the feelings and needs for a particular situation. And then the man calls his wife and it's all been worked out. There was one experience we had. Well, she called him actually. And she had the same understanding that occurred in the role play, even though she wasn't privy to the role play. It wasn't on Zoom. That was before Zoom. BZ. There's AZ and BZ. Instead of COVID, we just say before Zoom and after Zoom. And I have seen circumstances like that before, yeah. They connect. And these weren't devotees. These weren't devotees. These were two people who weren't devotees. I mean, they were favorable to Krishna consciousness, but they weren't full-on devotees. The people are connected. I mean, there's this really amazing connection when you get in touch with feelings and needs. I mean, I'll tell you one thing we did in one of our seminars. I believe it was either in Croatia or Serbia. We had the devotees connect to trees. It was an exercise. Because tree huggers. So I told the devotees to, hug the trees. Oh my God. Now I'm really far out. Anyway. And tell me, what are the needs of that tree? How is the tree feeling? What are the needs? And the devotees were able to resonate with the trees. Now, the trees didn't talk back, send us a mobile phone message, Thank you very much. Tree does. But it's really powerful. I mean, like, you hear about people who are, what do they call, horse whisperers, cat whisperers. It's really a question that every living entity has feelings and needs. And those who are expert in dealing with certain animals, they can actually resonate with those, or communicate or connect with those animals. That's why I was speaking to another lady who, she's in charge of a whole horse farm. And the whole purpose of the horse farm is to give therapy to girls who are disturbed. I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? Because she was describing to me, I mean, I'm not expert in horses, believe me. I don't know anything about horses except once a horse tried to take me away. I jumped on a horse and it took me away. I had to jump off it because I was going into the next country or next county. I thought, I just thought I'd be a cowboy, but that's all I know about horses. But she was telling me that horses have a big heart. And then, the girls would go up to the horses and make friends with the horses and actually communicate or connect with the horses, and it would be so therapeutic for them. In some places they actually charge, not for horses, but they charge people to hug cows. Because the cow, puts people in the mode of goodness when you hug a cow. Isn't it? I mean, I've experienced that too. I used to have a pet cow, and then I was in the mode of goodness, but not anymore. And it was really amazing. We had this cow, and the cow would take prasadam with me, take rest with me, really amazing. In the middle of the day, the cow would lie down, I'd put my head on her, and take my midday rest with the cow. It was just like really connect. And when it came time to milk, I would just say, it's time to milk. Okay. She would say, okay, come Maharaj. Because she doesn't speak. But she would speak and communicate. So when you're in touch with feelings and needs, it's a mystical experience, basically. I hate to use that word, mystical. As Prabhupada sometimes said, mystical, misty, unclear. But it's like that. It's just you connect with not only human beings, but you connect with all living entities, and you develop more compassion for all living entities. So, anybody have any questions? Questions? Yeah.
Often people do these diagnoses, like praise and stuff.
Yeah.
So how can we deal with these then?
Oh, someone praises me?
Like all the time. It's like.
All right, try it on me. He doesn't praise you're wonderful.
Yeah, good deal. You come from the spiritual world and you deliver
That's
all.
not my experience. I wouldn't do that, but well, she's really in Maya. Anyways, if that's the spiritual world, I don't want to go there. Anyways, yeah. So Gurudev, you came from the spiritual world. And then, if you say those things to me, I would say, would you be willing to tell me what I did to make your life more wonderful? And this is how Marshall Rosenberg deals with it. Someone, he gives this example in his book, that someone comes up to him after a seminar and says, that was a wonderful seminar, wonderful workshop. And then he says, would you be willing to tell me what I said that made your life more wonderful, what I've done? I sort of like changed the conversation between, you're great, you're wonderful, and everything like that, just to something really specific. And then you would say, well, when you gave me my husband, it made me realize compassion. For the four conditions. So anyway, this is joking. Like I said, I just joke with the people who are close, really close. I know I can get away with any damn thing with them. Other people I'm just really careful with. Don't let it go really careful. No, I tease him too. Like there's that story in the Chaitanya Charitamrita where there's Jagadananda Pandit and Sanatana Goswami. And Sanatana Goswami, actually he has had all these sores on his body, and he goes to Jagadananda Pandit and says, what should I do? Lord Chaitanya keeps embracing me, and I have these sores in my body, and I'm committing offenses, I don't belong here. And Jagadananda Pandit says, how do you just leave and go to Vrindavan? That's where he's supposed to go anyway. So when Lord Chaitanya hears that Jagadananda Pandit had given Sanatana Goswami those instructions, he says, that Jaga! He's just a young whippersnapper, young boy. What does he know? You, Sanatana Goswami, give me instructions or advise me. And this Jagadananda Pandit, he's, basically, just a young kid. What's he advising you for? And then what does Sanatana Goswami say? He says, now I understand what a close relationship Jagadananda Pandit has. You're giving me the bitter nimba, like nim or whatever, nimba, of praise. And him, you're actually showing you have a close relationship with him. So, sometimes it's like that. So there's an interesting exchange. So anyway, so getting back to your question, I would just ask you, would you be willing to tell me what I did? I wouldn't even address the point that you said, I'm wonderful coming from the spiritual world, because I know I am not from the spiritual world. And even if I was, I wouldn't think of it. Yeah.
What in that case, when the people respond like you also showed, like, oh, it's nothing. We praise someone, we show, express praise.
Yeah, we express praise.
And they're just like,
it's nothing.
Yeah.
It's feel like a slap in the face, It's like saying, you're nothing.
Yeah. Is there like any...
Yeah. Yeah, I would, it depends on the situation. They said, it's nothing. If it's a joking relationship, I would say, you are so humble. Depends on the person, Sometimes I would use humor. You were so humble that in spite of having all these good qualities, or if I didn't have a joking relationship with the person, I would say, but please, tell me how you feel when I say that. Because it's important to me to hear, because I really like what you did. I mean, it really struck me in my heart. You did that. And it's important to me to hear, to have that relationship, and to hear, to have that, connection, relationship. It just depends on who the person is. I mean, there's not one set response for all these things. Relationships are very dynamic. I can't give you like a menu of responses for responding to things. But generally, I try to be vulnerable and explain, I might say, when you said it was nothing, that was painful to me. I might say that in a certain case. I really need to hear how you feel. That's another way I might deal with it. It's just, the whole point is connection and the right words come. I mean, that's really what we're talking about. Not that you have to follow this formula, like I mentioned in the beginning of this seminar or whatever we're doing, that Brajabihari complained to me that when he encountered people who were studying nonviolent communication, they drove him crazy. Because they were always going through observations, feelings, needs, requests, and it was just too ritualistic. What? It was robotic. So the whole point is, it's just like sadhana bhakti. You practice these things in your mind or by yourself. You look at a mirror, observation, feelings. I'm looking at myself. I'm disgusted because I have a need for beauty. Would I be willing to put some makeup on my face? Anyway, change the color of my hair. So it's a question of integrating. It's like sadhana bhakti. Sadhana means practice, and then you have vaidhi, which is rules and regulations. And if you're just into the rules and regulations and ritualistic, you're not really connected. It's not really connected, So you have to always be thinking of why you're doing what you're doing, do things from the heart, and have the intention when you're dealing with other people. Main thing is intention to connect. And then, whether you use the formula, whether you don't use the formula, it's not really that important. I just want to connect because and of course to connect, you have to deal with your own feelings and needs. You have to be connected with them. It's very important. Like I said, if you just understand needs, then everything falls in place. Like I mentioned at the beginning, this is what I do at the beginning of every seminar. I say that we should remember that all feelings, all actions, everything that occurs in this world with living entities is due to people trying to fulfill needs. Simple as that. And if you see it like that, you can be compassionate, because someone who is being apparently mean is actually doing it to fulfill certain needs of his own or her own. And so I think if we think of needs, then it becomes pretty much spontaneous. And our intention is to connect. That's our intention. Not to manipulate, not to control, but to connect, and as devotees to give people Krishna consciousness to the best of our ability. Any other questions?
Yeah, may I ask a question?
Yeah.
When we talk about appreciation, actually reflecting on what you last said, what comes to my mind is that when there's a connection, then it goes heart to heart and it's genuine.
Genuine, yeah.
So is genuine the perfect opposite of manipulative?
I would say the opposite of genuine is just disconnection, not connected. It may not be manipulative, but maybe just like disconnected. But a manipulation, when we're looking at a person as an object rather than a subject, is very mechanistic. I mean, just so I try the best as I can to look at other living entities as like me. They're like me. They have feelings, they have needs, rather than objects to manipulate. Except when I'm buying a car. Then I look at someone to manipulate and get the lowest price. Actually, I have a disciple that does that for me. His name is Gopal. One time I was buying a car, and we went into the car dealer. The car dealer is very manipulative too. He's saying, "Oh, Mr. Swami, how's the Swami family?" I said, "Sannyasi, no family." No, I didn't say that. Because they remember your name, you know, just because they... And I was thinking this guy, you know. And I said, "Well, I like this car." And he said, "Well, it's such and such a price." And, you know, first of all, I go around and find every fault in the car. It's a used car, you know, it has a little scratch here, a little scratch here. And I said, "I'd like you to talk to my associate about this." I don't know if any of you met Gopal. You know, small guy. And I can't stand to watch him in action. It makes me cry because he makes other people cry. So the guy, you know, we were buying, what was it? Anyway, the car wasn't the car I'm using now. And he gets the dealer to reduce the price by like $3,000, $4,000. And the dealer is just like shaking, you know. "Please take the car away. Take this guy away from me." So, it was definitely non-empathic. So sometimes, it's a practical world. What can I do? Okay. Like Prabhupada, I described the other day, Prabhupada was expert in bargaining and getting people to reduce the prices, right? He made people squirm too. So there's a time and place for empathy. And I felt very empathic towards the car dealer at that point. So, what are the questions? Yeah, so basically our intention should be to connect. That's the intention, and then everything can come after that particular point. Okay, I wanted to do, if there are no other questions, I wanted to show something about authority. And Baladek's going to help me with this. And this is going to be a physical exercise.
Oh my God.
I'm going to show you literally how people feel when they're dealing with authority, and also how children deal or feel with their parents. Could you come here? Would you be willing? Would you do this? No, right over there.
I have a choice.
No. On the floor. Can you sit? Okay.
Going to hurt it.
No, I'm not going to touch it. So, you know, I'm your GBC, your authority, your temple president. And, you know, you want to be Krishna conscious, you have to cooperate with me. So I want you to go to Maribor and preach and spend 3 weeks there. Right now.
Anything else?
No, you're going to do it, right?
Yes.
Are you going to listen to me?
Yes.
Are you going to be happy about it?
not sure.
So how do you feel?
Well, something I saw already.
But
I feel uncomfortable because I'm not sure what's going to really be that.
So when you have an authority, this is how people see authorities, basically, when you put the name authority on it. And we'll do it in a more clear way. Okay, right now you're a little kid. And I'm going to tell you to go to your room and you don't want to go to your room. Go to your room.
I don't want to.
I'm your father. You have to listen to your father. Go to your room.
But I don't want to.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what you want. The important thing is what I want. In Krishna consciousness, the Bhagavad Gita says one should respect one's worshipful superiors like father, mother, spiritual master.
But I want to play here outside.
It doesn't matter. Go to your room.
I don't feel the connection.
I don't give a damn. The connection's connection. It doesn't matter.
I mean, I'm still a kid, you know, like I want to play here.
That's right. You're a kid and I'm the father. Get to your room. Right now. You heard me.
I don't want to.
Do you want a beating?
No.
Okay. Get to your room.
But I want to play here because all the friends are here. Here's fun.
I'm taking your phone away from you. I'm taking you're not going to eat tomorrow morning.
I'm not going.
Must beat him.
Yeah, beating. Okay, that's good. So, but you feel the difference in height. That's how a child experiences the parent. There's a difference in height. It's like a big rakshasa coming at you. Seriously, a difference in height, difference in power, and that's how people experience things. I mean, even myself in the position of guru. Some disciples, they shake when they see me. And sometimes I shake when I see the disciples. But you got these power positions, and I don't really feel that Krishna consciousness should be seen in terms of power positions. I mean, there's natural respect, appreciation, and love. But when you have these power positions, people cannot function voluntarily doing things from the heart. In my relationship with Prabhupada, it's not a power position. Yeah, he's my guru, spiritual master. Even when I talk to people and explain gurus, I never use the word spiritual master. Because the word master, how do people feel when they hear the word master?
Like you're being controlled.
Yeah, especially young people nowadays. If you say, my Lord and Master, I think this is the wrong movement for me. But you say spiritual teacher, spiritual facilitator, then it becomes something nice. Even teachers, like a hierarchical position. Or guru is something that's acceptable, pet guru. Like Prabhupada said, one shouldn't keep a pet guru. Okay, guru. Take you for a walk. So my approach to the Krishna conscious management is more flat than hierarchical. I mean, naturally, we respect if someone has more knowledge than us, more control of the senses than us, but we respect their qualities, not their name, not the position. So the respect is earned. It's not just forced on people. You know, just like sannyasi, you know, we have all these hierarchical positions. If you don't offer respect or obeisances to a sannyasi in the morning, what happens?
Fast the whole day.
You have to fast the whole day. Oh my, no, just half the day. I think it's just half the day.
Not so bad.
Not so bad. So I think if we want to present Krishna consciousness, especially in the modern world, which is not hierarchical, the Western world, which is not hierarchical, then we have to get away from this concept of hierarchy. I mean, people have responsibility, people have talents, fine. You command respect rather than demand respect. And that way our movement can grow exponentially, you know, through these loving relationships. All right, any other questions? We're gonna.
If I can just reflect what you said from my experience and also talking with different people, when you have this hierarchical power and it creates also a really bad effect that you stop respecting the authority, and even when they do something good, even if they do something which is really good, because we have like a bad experience with this before, you cannot recognize.
Yeah, because you draw a diagnosis. You have to go into a diagnosis of the authority, which is a natural occurrence. And then distrust, you no longer have a trusting relationship with the person. Because trust is very hard to get back after trust is broken. Yeah. It's not the sweet sort of relationship we really are hankering for in Krishna consciousness. And the relationship we had with Prabhupada was extremely sweet. I can't really say it was hierarchical, because Prabhupada was Prabhupada. It was just like, when you hear people say, Prabhupada disciples say the word Prabhupada, you know, there's love coming out of there. It's not like Guru, my Guru. It's, you know, Prabhupada. You know, so that's how our relationship should be in ISKCON. And in order to accomplish that, as I said in the first seminar I gave, we need to have a little bit different structure.
How do you keep things non-hierarchical? Like, even aside from the institutional structure, there's kind of like a natural hierarchy of like a senior devotee and like a neophyte devotee. How do you keep things non-hierarchical when you have a community where there's maybe like a lot of senior devotees and then, you know, some new devotees?
Well, my understanding, of course, there's Vaishnava etiquette too.
Yeah.
You know, so you're asking a question about Vaishnava etiquette. You know, there's natural etiquette, just keeps a society together. But as far as relationships, it has to be based on someone's qualities. You know, because people walk around with this badge sometimes, like, you know, I'm a sannyasi, I'm a Prabhupada disciple. And sure, we can give some external etiquette just because that's necessary in society. We don't want to be disrespectful. But as far as taking advice, taking shelter, it should be based on qualities. Otherwise, you've got a very stereotypical type of society. A very dry society. And then people are driven away. I mean, one thing I've seen in some cases, I hate to say this, but in some cases we want to make new devotees, it's good to keep the old devotees away.
Yeah.
Because they're attached to the hierarchy like that.
Yeah. It creates a very weird dynamic. You don't feel so comfortable.
You don't feel so comfortable because they feel they can impose, you know, Prabhupada said this. You know, you come to a temple, it's just like, bow down, mister, comb your hair in a certain way. What else?
Don't dance in a certain way.
Don't dance in a certain way. We have this other thing, yeah. I have this very nice disciple, Champakalata, who I instructed that she could dance Bharatanatyam in the temple during Mangalarti. In the front in the beginning. In the back. Now, And you had some of the other Prabhupada disciples. Fortunately, I'm the oldest Prabhupada disciple there. So I got the hierarchy. It's cool. I'm the GBC. Wow, all the power positions I got. In charge of the temple, the GBC. No one comes to the Father but through me. You know, so anyway, so and it's really wonderful what she does in the temple. You know, we're singing the Guru Vashika prayers, Samsara Dhamana, look, and she's emoting, showing all these things with her mudras, mantras, whatever, not mantras, but you know, whatever they call it, in Bharatanatyam. And I think it's amazing. Even the first few times I had the camera on her, and I just thought it was amazing. And then some older devotees, they stepped in front of the deities so the deities wouldn't see her. Prabhupada, what would Prabhupada say about this? And then I said, well, is everyone just dancing the Prabhupada step anyway?
Most people are dead.
Most people are. And then you have a really so-called fired up kirtan, and everyone's doing the bugaloo. Just imagine. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Sometimes I think I walked into Hanuman's camp, you know, and they're playing the cartel so loud my ears are hurting. So is that the way Prabhupada taught us? No, but I allow that because they're expressing their emotions and their ecstasy and everything during the kirtan. So here's a lady just like feeling the meaning of the kirtan. It's the most amazing, wonderful thing. And then people are standing in front of the deity so Krishna doesn't see them. See her. I said, well, all right, she can dance in the back, you don't have to. And then another person wrote, but it's a lady dancing. And she's 40-something years old, you know.
And a grandmother.
She's a grandmother. She looks young.
She's beautiful.
You know, sometimes, anyway, so fortunately I can overrule everybody. But it's interesting, you know, Prabhupada never did it this way, you know. We're mature, I mean, we can make certain decisions without violating the basic principles of Krishna consciousness. Just like what we're doing now. And what to speak of during Mangalarti, at the end of Mangalarti, when we chant the Nrsimha prayers, they play the guitar.
Yeah.
That was another controversial thing.
You had the guitar Mangalarti itself at one point, or at least.
Yeah, well, Rajananda.
Yeah.
Oh, one very nice devotee who was staying with us for some time, he would play accompaniment during Mangalarti. It was very beautiful. And we also have a bass guitar. I don't play bass guitar. You going?
No, everything is okay.
Oh, you have to take the chair.
Yeah, unfortunately we are leaving.
Oh, okay.
Coming back. Thank you for the lectures. It touched our hearts.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So, oops. Anyway, and so because we let one devotee play the bass guitar during the kirtan, you know, he's becoming a nice devotee. He engages talents in Krishna service. Am I deviating? I don't know. You know, I'm using the cartels and chanting the standard grade during most of the arti. So, and I don't insist upon a standard, you know, as long as people dress nicely and cleanly. Except for me. You know. No, I dress nicely and cleanly. And then, you know, it's because I'm appreciating the bhakti, you know, which is the real thing. And then, but we have to be careful because we get criticized. And we have to be a little bit aloof. from the criticism. So I mean, that's all the hierarchy, you know. I don't feel I have a need to criticize when I go somewhere else, just because I'm an older devotee. I mean, I go to temples where it's completely different. I'm not going to mention where it is, where everybody has to get permission even to have a cell phone. But I don't criticize. That's their mood. You know, they like it and they feel comfortable in such a situation like that. Hare Krishna. I don't have the right. Because I'm older devotee, I'm a sannyasi. Anyway, so yeah, but at the same time we do need hierarchy to regulate things in the movement. So there needs to be two branches. One is the hierarchical branch, where obviously you need control on things. On the BBT you need control on things, and who publishes, who prints Prabhupada's books. Obviously, you can't just let everything go. But at the same time, we need people who are going to counsel others, be empathic with others. That was my proposal on the first day.
I heard this like thrown around sometimes now, but I've heard like Prabhupada or the Bhagavatam or someone says that like 25% of your time should be with like people older or more senior, 50% should be with people who are
I never heard that.
Okay, I was wondering. I've heard that.
Is that Shastric?
I've been trying to find out. I don't know where I've heard this a couple of times. It's weird.
I think we also heard and tried to find but couldn't.
I can't find it. I've been in the movement for 200 years.
I think that they referred to Radhanath Swami actually.
Oh.
Okay.
I would say that, you know, my personal opinion is that, you know, we should stay with people who encourage our Krishna consciousness. And who can resonate with it, whether or not they're older or younger. Or, I mean, I know some very, very newer devotees who can really encourage me in Krishna consciousness. And I learn from them. Anyway, there's different ways of approaching things. It's not a criticism of anyone else or what anyone else said. But we need management, but empathic communication is not a system of management, so management has to happen in parallel to empathic communication. We need good management, strict management. Right now, you know, I'm doing both things. Like right now, I mean, for example, in America right now, there's one temple that wants to take a mortgage out so we can do something. It's the Washington, D.C. temple. I mentioned this the other day. Want to take a $10 million mortgage out. So I'm not putting on my empathic communication hat and saying, oh, they really want to increase things and serve the deities. Isn't that so nice? I'm saying, I want to see the details. So I'm putting on a different hat. I want to see the details. How are they going to make it back? Will the bank foreclose on them if they can't make payments? Who are the guarantors? You know, so it's a different hat that I'm putting on. So you need that. Otherwise everything is just like hodgepodge. And Prabhupada insisted on that. Like in the beginning days of the movement in Hawaii, there was one devotee who, you know, thought the temple should be sold. And he sold the temple and kept the money. Gaurasundara was his name. And therefore Prabhupada instituted a whole system of trustees, property trustees, to protect the different properties. So you need management, you need good management. But I'm speaking about something different. You know, to keep the devotees enthusiastic, we need empathy, connection between each other. So both things have to happen in parallel. And usually the same person can't do both things at the same time. I can do both things at different times. Like when I get on my computer, I can certainly be a manager, financial manager. But when I'm talking to all of you, relating with all of you, I'm not going to go into that mood or mode. All right? Any other questions before we end?
Can I ask something?
Yeah.
You mentioned that some of your disciples shake when they come before you, and I can't imagine how it is possible. Maybe you can say how
why they shake?
Yes.
because I am such a mean SOB. You don't really know me. Anyway, so, because they don't have so much interaction with me, because they're in certain places in the world, they come from a different culture. It's not that, you know, when you have, which I do, about 1,200 disciples, which is not a lot. Seems like a lot. But when it's not a lot, I mean, some of them have more closer relationships with me. In other words, they haven't had the opportunity. It's, you know, it's hard to give 1,200 people the opportunity to be in an informal setting like this. I mean, sometimes I'll go to Fiji and there'll be like 30 people take an initiation at one time that, you know, have been recommended, and it's, you know, it's hard to everybody. You know, if I had to give a personal darshan to thousands of people, it's kind of hard. But I tried my best by whatever means are at my disposal to keep in touch with everybody. But certain people from hierarchical culture, you know, that's how they'll relate. And I have to just tell them, don't worry, I'm not as bad as I seem. But some gurus just keep that posture, and I'm not saying it's bad, I'm just saying it's a different relationship. So, any other questions? She's our professor, so.
I wanted to actually ask about this, how is it, like we talked about principles and details
Yeah.
another day. So my question is, if I understand correctly, that if we keep strict on principles, like I mentioned, 4 regs,
4 regs, chanting 16 rounds, yeah. Rising early. There's other principles too.
Yeah. Then all other things, or do I understand correctly that we first should be very clear actually what are the principles, and very really knowing them in order to not to
not to deviate.
Yes, and all other things are details that can be adjusted.
Adjusted according to time, place, and circumstance.
Is that correct understanding?
That's a correct understanding, and a lot of the problems we have is that we confuse principles with details, or details with principles. Like Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was expert in adjusting different details. You know, he was the one who came up with this sannyas dress, which is not, first of all, it's not a principle, and it's not even a tradition. What Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur did is he examined the Ramakrishna mission and also the Sri Sampradaya, their method of sannyas, and he imitated, because the actual traditional method of sannyas in Gaudiya Vaishnavism is basically a lungi, like the 6 Goswamis of Pradhan. That's traditional. And it's not even a principle, it's just traditional. It's a detail. So he understood the difference, and so he gave this particular type of dress. And so sometimes we're very stuck on particular types of dress. And you know, I'm following the tradition. I've chosen to follow this tradition established by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Some of my godbrothers follow a little differently. I mean, like you have Hridayananda Maharaj, he does all his online classes wearing shorts and sometimes pants too. Anyway. Yeah, so, but, you know, that's adjustable. That's adjustable. It's not really what I want to do, but it's adjustable. And you see in China, let's take China for example, the devotees have adjusted practically all the external aspects, like the instruments, the style of dress, the style of music, to the Chinese style. And I have some really interesting videos of hundreds or thousands of Chinese devotees chanting Hare Krishna, you know, dressed up in their Chinese clothes, whatever clothes they're called, and eating prasadam using chopsticks. But you know, when you go into a temple and you say, well, you're supposed to use your fingers. I remember one of the things, I hope this doesn't disgust anyone, one of the things that really disgusted me when I first came to the movement, well, first time I visited a temple, is they said you can't use toilet paper. It's not Vedic, you have to use your hand. And then later on, this is a story, a really funny story. I was in Australia on an airplane, and this Australian people don't hold back, they say whatever's in their hearts. Really. And especially when they're drunk. Anyway. So he comes onto the airplane, and he sees me, and I'm dressed like this. And sometimes I like to travel like this, sometimes I travel in Western clothes, it doesn't matter. And he says, Hare Krishna! He said, I love your food, but why don't you use toilet paper? Why do you use your hands? And then everyone in the airplane. I certainly had social distancing. Nobody wanted to come near me. They just pictured my hands. So like it was a rule that you couldn't use toilet paper. It's like, and then another rule they came up with is that you're not allowed to use the bathroom after 7 o'clock at night.
What?
This is a rule. I mean, I don't know why they came up with this rule. And all the Prabhupada says things. So here's this, not me, it never happened to me, but people, sometimes I ate and they had to use the bathroom. They're turning various colors because it's against Krishna consciousness to use the bathroom after 7 o'clock at night. And then another thing is you're going to the bathroom one time a day, you're a yogi, twice you're a bogi. You guys are a rogi, you know. You're just a bogey. You know, all these things that just like drive you crazy sometimes. And so, you know, the principles are really easy to understand. We chant Hare Krishna, read the Bhagavatam every day. Look, read the Nectar of Devotion, you can see what the principles are. And then, interestingly enough, Rupa Goswami says that different spiritual masters will have different instructions on details. But Rupa Goswami is just presenting general points. And even some of the points in Nectar of Devotion, you know, we don't follow. Like, for example, it says you shouldn't wear red or blue in front of the deities. And Prabhupada was asked about that. He said, no, it's all right. No, Prabhupada, or in the, some of the literature says, we mentioned this before, don't eat carrots. And some temples, they will not serve the deities with anything that grows underground. Like in Jagannath Puri, they don't do that. So, I think, whoops, these are just details. And especially in the Western world and now in India too, the more we focus on the details rather than the principles, the less we're going to be able to expand Krishna consciousness. Because people just like, you know, someone comes in the temple and you say you gotta wear your hair a certain way, and otherwise you're a prostitute.
Yes.
They did that to you, isn't it? What was your experience?
I mean, I guess at that time I was not thinking that there's some other options, so it's like...
So you changed your hair?
I did at that time, yeah.
But it's just like, who cares how you wear your hair? It doesn't really matter to me. That's not a principle. Yeah.
What is the need behind all the strategy to correct, or like the need cannot be wrong, right? The need cannot.
Well, the need is not wrong.
Yeah.
If certain people have that need, and we respect that.
So the need to correct always other people, it's actually something else. It's the need to be
For stability, maybe a number of different needs.
Yeah.
Predictability, stability. I mean, I have certain needs like that too. Everybody, not everybody, but people, generally people who know me know that I get up at the same time every morning, extremely regulated. Hopefully I'm not obsessive compulsive anyway. And so I have a need for predictability, regularity in my life. You know, I like to do things. Everyone knows I'm punctual, right? Like if I'm supposed to be there at 3 o'clock, I'll be there at 3 o'clock on the point, on the dot. But these are different needs I have. It's not that everybody's like that. Because in India they have Indian Standard Time, which is there an hour late. You know, someone tells me, we have a program at 6:30 in the evening, Mars. Can you come? Mars, I come at 6:30. We're old people. So finally at 8 o'clock in the evening they start wandering in.
That's pretty early, eh?
So, you know, just different needs. And they're expressing their need for spontaneity. Because the rest of their life they're not spontaneous. So, anyway, it takes some intelligence, and we work with different people. And we're not criticizing people who are obsessive compulsive. No, we're not criticizing people who want to be more regulated than that, or more. Because it gives people a sense of identity.
When they force other people to be like them, this is the need for what? Like you
mean forcing other people? You know, well, it's the same need. It's their sense of identity, belonging.
Like forcing a woman to have this kind of hair, this kind of double bracelets.
It may be a number of things, but it's the sense of identity, you know, certain people like conformity. It's just like, it keeps the mind peaceful with certain people.
Mm-hmm. So it's not wrong to have
It's not wrong, but we should fit in where we fit in, where we want to be.
I mean, it's not wrong to have need that other people do something, not us.
No, it's not actually, it's your own need.
Okay.
It's your own need, and ISKCON should be a big enough house so you work with people who are compatible and have similar needs, and there's a place for people who are not compatible. Right? There has to be a place, like Prabhupada built a house, as they say, big enough for the whole world to live in. And that doesn't mean different nationalities. I mean people with different feelings and needs. There should be a place for everybody, yeah, including me.
I was just reminded that it's quite often happening that the most violent and intense conflicts are actually between people who are having same needs.
The same needs, yeah.
But just they choose the strategies they choose.
Different
are
strategies.
So different. And when they are not connected to the needs, then they are fighting on the strategy level.
Yeah.
But when it helps to get down to the need level, then we start to see that, oh,
yeah,
needs are the same. Mm-hmm. And then then it's able to find different strategies which
fit together. Yeah, that's mediation. That you get people down what their basic needs are, and then they see there's a win-win there somewhere. Good. But it should be big enough for everybody, right? Needs to be big enough for everybody. You know, people have different needs, people have different strategies, people have different visions about Krishna consciousness. I'm not going to try to impose my idea. I tried it. I tried. Actually, one of the first seminars I gave, I thought, I'll invite this person to film it, because he was good at filming. But he really needs it. So I said, can you film? I need your help to film it. So, oh yeah, I like filming. He didn't realize that what the seminar was going to be about. So he comes in. sets up his camera, and we talk about empathy and love. And he runs out, leaving his camera there and everything. So you can't really force it on people. But you can be empathic with the person can pick up on it, but if you try to force people to learn it, everybody in the temple has to go to this seminar. It's not a good idea. It's not a good idea. And, but we can be empathic with those people who choose, to be more whatever. And that will actually communicate it to them. It just takes one person. But don't try to force everyone to learn it. I'm not going to make my book required reading for all my disciples. Okay. Whoops. It is 1:17. Thank you all very much. It's been very enlivening, exciting. I'm very grateful that many of you sat through this. It makes my life meaningful, so I can communicate something that's very important to me, something that I think can change the face of ISKCON to make it more acceptable for many people, to connect more people with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and connect more people with His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. And, I hope I can contribute something to everybody. Okay? All glories to Srila Prabhupada. I will do that now. We have some the book? Oh yeah. I promise.
Sorry.